Welcome to La Gazette!
Today we'll be sharing with you the top 5 winter trends you can wear today, straight from the Fashion Week Runways.
Hello! I'm Lucia.
And I'm Gaby.
And some reminders before we begin, nous avons des sous-titres en français.
Y como siempre tenemos también subtítulos en español.
And we want to remind everyone that these collections were presented in February 2020, so just right before the pandemic really hit most of the world.
And they were probably designed around 6 months before that, so if some pieces don't feel adapted to the winter we're actually living in, well, you know the reason.
With that in mind, we thought we'd break down the runway trends you can actually wear this season, considering some countries are still in complete lockdown or partial lockdowns, and others are only taking the social distancing measures.
Whatever the case may be for you, we hope that you can find some useful tips on how to revamp your winter wardrobe.
You'll discover the 5 trends from the fall-winter runways that are the easiest to adapt to the lockdown life, without forgetting we actually have to go out sometimes.
And don't forget you can jump from trend to trend in the video by clicking on the timestamp in the description below.
Also, if you live in the southern hemisphere and need warmer weather looks, you can watch our summer trends video here. Here. Or here.
Okay, let's get started.
First off, we want to tell you about one of the most cute trends of the season, which also happens to be super Zoom call friendly.
We're talking about the Claudine collar. It takes its name from Claudine, a fictional schoolgirl who was a character created by French writer Colette.
In English, it's referred as Peter Pan collar.
In its traditional form, it comes in white and it's worn under a darker color sweater, but on the runways, we found it in many styles.
Marc Jacobs went with classic Claudine,
while at Gucci, we saw it pretty much in every shape and form.
Miu Miu is known for its Claudine colors, so it's a staple of the brand.
And at Emporio Armani, we see it in a light jacket.
At Fendi, in a super feminine leather blouse. It's amazing.
I love this one. As you can see, street style stars have already adopted the trend.
They are mostly worn in white and under sweater or cardigans, but don't be afraid to mix it up.
We advise this trend for video conference calls because, of course, it's a super easy way to be super stylish, comfortable, and trendy from the waist up.
Match your look with some elastic waist wool pants and your setup for your home office.
Okay, even in lockdown, we have to go out the house sometimes, right?
For when this time arrives, the best trend to wear this season is a cape. Not only is it super stylish, if done right, you can feel you're walking out wearing your blanket.
It's the best way to stay cozy.
First off, let's have a look at the setting capes. These were some of the most classic out there. Eddie Slimane favored shades of brown and black and sweat as material.
Another place to go for your classic cape was Michael Kors. Here we saw a larger variety of colors, but a very classic A shape in most capes. We saw capes in black, in grey, in khaki, even in red. And most were in wool. We saw also a sweat one. And we saw a dress with a cape attached to the back. This is a mini trend that we will keep seeing throughout this video.
At Dior, capes were in wool in a plaid print with fringes. We love overlapping trends.
Givenchy gave us what I thought were the most elegant capes. They were minimalistic, but they were not boring, like this super sleek grey dress with cape. You can add opera gloves for a dramatic touch.
At Valentino, there were decorative capes, like this one, which is part of the dress and creates a volume when the model walks. And this one, which will leave you with a cold shoulder.
This leather cape is a perfect example. And the white one makes us think of 60s vintage.
Capes are of course ideal for the evening, and we couldn't find a more glamorous one than this pink feathered Oscar de la Renta model by Bella Hadid.
Dries Van Noten showed some beautiful light capes that, while not very practical for cold weathers, would add a killer touch to a maximalist look.
And on the other side of the spectrum, a very equestrian look cape at Hermes.
The poncho cape is also a big trend, and here we can see Isabel Marant's grey design.
And here's Balmain's. These are great to just wrap over your shoulders and as a complement to any finished look to add an extra layer of coziness.
Like we said, this is a big mini trend, and we see it again at J.W. Anderson, where capes were part of the dresses.
Same at Jill Sander with this white mini knit cape.
I think the longest capes were spotted at Loewe, and they were also kind of conceptual.
And speaking of conceptual, you'll be surprised to learn that this classic grey cape is actually Paco Rabanne.
As for the street style, I think it's no surprise that what we see the most are poncho capes.
They are perhaps the easiest to carry and they're super cozy. So if you're looking for an alternative to a coat, this is it for the season.
And now off to our next trend.
Color blocking is a trend that makes us happy to see on runways because it can help us bring some cheer to the bleakest month of the year.
While color blocking can be done with neutral colors as well, this season we saw the runway host an explosion of colors.
First off, and most surprising of all, Saint Laurent. This is a brand you normally associate with black sexy clothes, but this winter it's a rainbow.
We got some primary color blocking at Hermes,
and major knit inspiration from British designer Roxanda.
There's less flamboyant color blocking at Off-White,
and there are 80s vibes at Alberta Ferretti. As you can see, more muted colors can be worn in block with another to create a pop like this lilac.
I especially love when red and pink are contrasted. I think they go great together. And you can also combine shades of the same color, like pink.
Another great example of lilac with the unexpected mix of pink and red.
Oscar de la Renta did some great contrast as well. This bubblegum pink straight pants and a simple deep green sweater create a super original look when combined.
The same goes for this plain red coat mixed again with pink pants.
At Prada, there was color blocking that went from silver to a pink sweatshirt worn with green ties.
We saw it as well at Lacoste, where there was color blocking in the same piece as is the case with these jackets.
At Gucci, bright color pieces were mixed with more muted ones.
And at Bottega Veneta, the looks were more avant-garde, mixing the different colors in the same piece by overlapping the materials.
We saw something similar, but with ruffles instead of fringes at Main Serre.
And in the streets, we saw it all over the place, making simple wardrobe staples into a proper look by mixing them.
Special mention goes to fashion journalist Sophie Fontanelle, who disproves the cliché that French women dress always in black, and that older women have to wear sober colors.
Again, this is a super easy trend to wear while in home office, as it can be followed by wearing very comfy clothes, like Gabi.
Yes! I'm wearing a color block, super comfy sweater. And by the way, if you feel like you're getting some useful tips and you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up down here.
And while you're down there, subscribe to La Gazette and hit the notifications bell.
Okay, our next trend is plaid.
Every winter, we see a bit of plaid here and there as it reminds us of cold places and cozy clothes, but this season was everywhere.
And we mean everywhere.
When we think of Plaid, of course, we think of Britain and of punk. So there was obviously some Plaid at Vivienne Westwood. Not in its most classic red, but in original tones like this orange.
At Burberry, Plaid was omnipresent throughout the collection. We of course saw a lot of the classic Burberry Plaid you all know, but we saw it reinterpreted in different proportions.
Celine showed the Plaid cape, a trend crossover we love and we saw in other brands.
Plaid was everywhere at Dior too. Pants, shorts, sweater, coats,
skirts. At Dries Van Noten, it was used to add a grunge touch to otherwise very feminine looks.
And this is Gucci, where we found different types of Plaid in skirts, coats and more.
Plaid in more modern and feminine colors could be seen at Lacoste.
And at Lanvin in this very ladylike coat.
For another classic and sober interpretation of Plaid, we go to Michael Kors. Check out this great cape. It's almost like a blanket.
Love it! Finally, for Plaid in its most contemporary and modern versions, we got the work of three women.
The Miu Miu collection offered bodycon knitwear, puffer jackets, nightgowns, coats, and everything else you can think of with this print.
At Stella McCartney, we saw loose knitwear with oversized Plaid print in white and in red, and this is a good option if you don't want to feel too Christmassy when you're wearing Plaid.
Finally, Victoria Beckham did Plaid too and turned it into 80s inspired working girl tops.
Plaid was, of course, also in the streets, as you can see this dress, this coat, or even this total Dior look on Chufi.
It's super easy to wear as it's a neutral print that goes with everything during the winter.
Finally, we wanted to end on a positive note and leave you with one of the most festive trends of the season. Fringes!
Fringes, like Plaid, are somewhere to be found almost every season, but this time they're everywhere. Dresses, jackets, coats, bags.
And we know that because of COVID we can't have actual parties, but maybe these looks can inspire your Zoom party looks.
Let's have a look.
Okay, the Fringes all-over dress made its appearance at Alberta Ferretti, in black, and if you want to make more of a statement, in silver.
For a more sober look, we can look at Boss, with some side-long fringes.
And for more conceptual fringes, we have, of course, Bottega Veneta.
This coat is the star of the season, in my opinion. There are fringes even in the clutch. I love this whole look.
On the other hand, if you want a more classic look, get inspired by Gabriela Hearst, who by the way just got named creative director at Chloé.
Fringes look great on skirts like this one at Chanel.
And these at Fendi. They give legs and hips so much movement, plus they make you feel more festive.
Fringes also have 70s connotation, which are more evident than ever at Dior. Here we saw them in capes, coats, and especially in a bunch of dresses.
If you missed the coverage of this collection, including the street style action, go watch this video right here, right after this one.
Christian Siriano added fringes to some party-perfect silver dresses.
On the other hand, Givenchy gave us super elegant fringes.
Jill Sander served minimalistic long fringes.
I love this dress. And the avant-garde Marine Serre included fringes in her upcycled ruffled dresses.
Finally, at Prada, pink fringes were spotted in some skirts, while there were classic fringes as necklaces, on dresses and in the back of suit jackets.
I like fringes because I think they give looks like an unexpected festive twist.
In the street, this trend has not fully caught on.
We have seen it, especially in 70s inspired looks, but thanks to Bottega and Prada, we're sure we'll continue seeing it in more modern looks.
We had to include this shot of Hailey Bieber in that Bottega Veneta coat. That's iconic.
I mean, so easy to wear, just matched with some jeans and a cropped t-shirt and she looks amazing.
We hope your outlook on winter looks is a bit brighter and that you feel inspired to get some trendy Christmas presents.
For your loved ones or for yourself. You also deserve some pampering after the terrible year we both had.
As always, the most important thing to consider when buying trends is, of course, to wear pieces that reflect your personal style and can easily adapt to clothes you own already.
And be sure to get quality pieces so you can keep wearing them for years to come. This is the best way to reduce fashion's impact on the environment and on your wallet.
Of course, all of these trends look great with face masks, so wear one every time you leave the house.
That's it, guys. If you're still watching, you probably like this video, so give it a thumbs up down there.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notifications bell.
And follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more fashion.
Thanks for watching!
See you next time!